Hello and welcome to another episode of Chopcast. Opening day is. Does it technically start tomorrow for some teams, or is it all on Thursday?
They're
I
all
think
on Thursday,
It's
I
all
I
on.
think it's all on Thursday.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know how that's how opening day usually is, but I didn't know like how them canceling two series was gonna work out.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah. No, I think it's
But
all 7th.
yeah, which unfortunately I'm not gonna be able to watch like the first 7 innings of the Braves game because I'll
Bowling
be.
class.
No, bowling class is not at 8 o'clock at night, but
That's fucked up.
it's 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 a softball game, um,
Oh my god.
which
Oh my!
I had.
I love how you.
Yeah, I texted y'all after I had the
Yeah.
softball game of my life, and I just wanted one that's cool.
Nope.
But y'all
No.
fucking gave
You
me
know, you
nothing.
know we can't. We can't give you that. We can't give you that.
Like,
Griffin,
What
I
are you
can't believe
talking
you went
about?
out of your way and texted me about your statistics from an IM softball game.
The
I
dude,
the
can't
best
believe you
the,
did.
the best text I got from Griffin about the fucking softball game was he was like, yeah, the other team had like a bunch of fans come and like I hit two Oppo home runs and just silenced them.
Griffin, did you bat flip? Did you bat flip and like
I
trot
didn't.
around the bases?
No, cause like I just hustle out of the box. Um,
Oh my god.
this might
Jesus
be. I already
Christ.
told somebody this, and they said that's fucking childish. Um, but but I don't get too many opportunities to show off how fast I am. So I was like, I'm gonna
Mm,
fucking show everybody how quick.
you're a piece of shit. You're the worst. You're like the player that everyone loves to have on their team, but
Uh,
everyone else hates.
dude,
You're Draymond Green. You're the Draymond Green of UGA softball.
dude, like I struck out I think 4 batters, which every time I strike somebody out in softball, I feel like a piece of garbage, especially when they're called strikes. But like
Yeah.
when it was 2 outs, and then she was like debating a call, I just started like I would sprint to the dugout.
Oh my god. You gotta show off that speed somehow.
Also, just to be a jackass, like
Hmm.
I typically am like nice to people and whatever, and try to not be a douche, but sometimes I just kind of want to, and I really,
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
that huge crowd there, of there's a bunch of people that I like from my campus ministry that I vaguely know, but it's just like it was a sea of people, that the type of person that it's like you see and you know that they know you and vice versa,
Hmm.
um, but you don't really have a conversation with if you don't have to. It was all of those people in one space. Um, but
It's a nightmare.
yeah, that it was technically like two teams that of people that did the same ministry, but everyone else
Hmm.
was cheering for the other team because we're all old and uh, yeah. But um, yeah. I mean, we did to this is important, but we went into our last inning, um, or I guess in this it would have been similar to like the bottom of the eighth. We were down 6-3, uh, and then I stepped up. It was 6-5, 2 outs.
Drum roll, drum roll. Everyone's so excited.
and
Everyone's
then,
what's Griffin gonna do?
and first pitch took inside, and I'm like, oh, he really doesn't want me to go oppo right here. And then I look over, and then I bat left-handed, and I could see
Uh,
this girl out in the outfield. It's a co-ed team, and I just see this
mm.
girl, and she's like is not paying attention at all, and I'm like, that's where I'm going. And
Oh
then,
yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
and then
Babe Ruth, you called your shot.
and I just poked it way over her head. And then so there's like this ditch at the end that's probably about
Hmm.
350 feet away. And if it goes in, then it's a ground rule double. But it came like 10 feet from going into that ditch, and then I just went around.
Dude,
Good.
Griffin, that's amazing.
Griffin, these are the stories you're gonna tell your kids.
Yeah.
These are the stories I'm gonna tell my kids. Actually.
I'm gonna make bubblegum cards for this, and then I'm gonna send it out to everybody.
The next game, just flexing. Oh my god,
But
that was
yeah,
great.
got another game this Thursday. Think my ERA is about like not good. It's probably 5. It's slow pitch softball, but I made a couple diving plays as well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Very proud of myself. I came back. It happened at 9. Game ended around 10. Stayed around 10:30. Ate some orange slices and Capri Suns, as you do after a victory. And then went and studied for my exam the next day. And I just sat here staring at my screen, shaking because I was still so juiced. I couldn't focus at all. I didn't start studying until like 12:30. But yeah, that's what happened with me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's really amazing.
I'm glad that y'all were happy for me.
For you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so happy for you. That's fantastic.
I'll make sure to send y'all videos of me playing. Maybe even do a live
I think you should
video.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should throw it on the Instagram, Chopcast Instagram. So if you're not following, you gotta check it out.
But anyway, Braves 28-man roster, which is now. I looked this up all over the place, and I couldn't find anything definite, but from everything that I heard, like the coaches talking about, it is going to be 28 starting this year instead of 26 at the beginning. So that's what we're going with, at least. It appears in terms of injuries and decisions, things have been kind of whittled down to a fairly tight 28. But yeah. So the pitchers that are not listed on either the IL or the minors right now that are on our 40-man roster, in terms of starting pitchers, Fried, Morton, Anderson, Yanoa, Davidson, Wright. Relieving pitchers, Jansen, Smith, McHugh, Matzik, Minter, O'Day, Newcomb, Thornburg, and Strider. And then position players, Rosario, Albies, Olson, Riley, Ozuna, Dickerson, Duvall, Swanson, Darno, Pena, Contreras, Arcia, and Heredia. So, obviously not where we want to be at the beginning, but because of Jackson and Acuna still being out, which Jackson's going to be out a lot longer than we figured since he's on the 60-day IL now. But Acuna will be back soon, so there'll be some decisions to be made. But Sam, from your viewpoint, do you see any weaknesses or points of confusion with the current, more than likely probable 28-man roster?
I mean, obviously, the big it's kind of like small in the grand scheme of things, but the big player listed on there that I think we're all kind of confused about is William Contreras. I don't get it personally. I understand that they want to get him more like big league at bats, and it's good to have a utility guy to fill in, but I mean, he's a catcher, and right now we have Manny Pena and Travis d'Arnaud already out there, and we're going to have them for 2 more years, barring anything significant, barring any trades or injuries. And I think it's strange. I mean, I would have much rather had a Nagowski or a Goslin in there over Contreras, but outside of that, I mean, obviously it's a little tight. We don't have Acuna yet. And once it goes down to 26, we're going to see, pretty big shifts. But that's kind of my point of inquiry. I don't know what y'all's thoughts on it. I don't know what y'all's thoughts on it are, but I'm not sure I really trust a Contreras not in AAA catching, at least for the time being.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I know that like we put him out in right field a couple times during spring training, which was kind of indicative. Like you could see that we were trying to just get him a little bit of experience in the field. Which I mean, there's been crazier stuff happen before than somebody like Contreras playing in the outfield. Not a good comparison, but like the Marlins had Jorge Alfaro play in the outfield a number of times. Um, so yeah, I mean, most of his value, the reason that he's there is not necessarily because he's a catcher, just because like he can hit. I would imagine if we still had the pinch hitter, that he probably wouldn't be there. Because just having that extra catcher, I don't know why you would. But yeah, I just, especially since, and then on the flip side of that, because we don't have a pinch hitter, I think like he's not going to be playing very often at all, especially since he's third on the depth chart in terms of catcher. And he's not going to be getting very many at bats. Not really going to get very much game time practice for doing the main thing that he needs to do, which is learning how to call games more and practice with defense. So yeah, I feel like for somebody who's really not going to play very often, I would have liked to see him be in Gwinnett, kind of like starting every day and getting practice against AAA players, and learning how to call games with still very good pitchers, and against pretty decent hitters as well. So yeah, I similarly thought that instead of him, we'd have somebody like Goslin or Nagowski, maybe Pat Valleca. And that also gives us an extra infield option, which right now our only like backup infield option is Orlando Arcia, which I don't really like.
Yeah, I kind of hate that.
So, yeah. Will, any thoughts on Contreras?
No, nothing nothing new that I was confused by it too, because I think having three catchers on a roster is pretty useless. And so I was really confused by that one. I tried to explain it because I keep forgetting that the designated hitter is universal now. So I keep forgetting about that. So I tried to explain it in those terms of, like pretty solid bat, nothing amazing. Like, he's not going to be an incredible hitter. I don't think he ever will be. But I mean, even with that, it's just difficult to explain. Just because there's a number of guys who I think will fill in there over him. Yeah, I think it's pretty poor mismanagement, honestly. Just because I don't think. I mean, clearly they have a better idea than us. I mean, they see that people practice every single day. But I mean, in terms of getting reps in and practicing and just ultimately like service time, how that works, I think it's not utilizing Contreras to the best of like his abilities.
Yeah. Are there any thoughts to who you would put in specifically, Will, if given the chance?
Well, I know he was cut. Didn't make the team, but I put him on my roster prediction. I don't care. It's my roster prediction. I noticed a lack of grit on this team, and
Oh
like
man,
I
breaking my heart right now. You're
I,
breaking
I
my heart.
I think that's a big one. And this is a hill I'm willing to die on. I think Brock Holt has a spot on this team.
No.
But I think Snicker and AA, like they may be World Series champions and everything, but I think they really missed the mark on this one
Yeah.
for something truly special. So,
really lack the grit. Like
mhm.
Oh my
So,
god.
our grit level just went down to 0.
Disappointing.
plummeted
Griffin, I don't know
overnight.
if you were hoping for a serious answer or anything like that, but that's that. I have nothing
Is
else
that
to
not a
say.
serious answer?
No, it is. I stand by
Okay,
that.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess he. It's weird to me because he like requested the release. I just want to talk about that
Mhm.
briefly because our
Oh, good.
grit was stolen from us. But yeah, I mean he was with the Braves for like 10 days or maybe 2 weeks. It seems weird to me that he would sign a minor league deal with the Braves and then request a release and basically I guess I don't know. I wouldn't figure he's trying to go and like start somewhere because I don't think he's ever really been a starter. He's always just been like a utility player. Um,
He was an all-star in 2015.
he was.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, never
Isn't
mind.
that crazy?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we missed out
I have
on
to
that
double check,
guy.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check, but yeah, I'm like almost positive he was an all-star in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we really missed out.
Um, I guess he's trying to go start somewhere and maybe increase his value, but it's just like, why would you sign with the world champs if like you,
Mhm.
you don't have anywhere close to earning a starting role? Um,
Mhm.
I guess maybe he thought he could come in and like he's played outfield before, but he's mainly an infielder. But he can technically play anywhere. But maybe he's like, I'm gonna come in and then replace Heredia or something like that. I don't know. Just seems
Who
strange to me.
knows, man? Who knows? I mean, my guess is he saw the writing on the wall and didn't want to spend time in AAA, especially with the roster size getting cut down, with Acuna coming back.
Yeah, again, you just
Just
would have
didn't
thought that
seem,
he'd have
yeah.
a little bit more like forethought, where he's like, oh, this is was the best team from last year technically,
Mm,
and I have done like minor league contracts after minor league contract. I don't know. I don't.
it's
Our
weird.
our
It
grit's
is what it
gone.
is.
Our
It's gone.
gritty is gone. Him and like the Flyers mascot Gritty. I feel like
Oh God.
they're a
To be
face off
homies.
between them two. I can't even imagine. I think the world would explode. They would both at the same time care so much, but also not care in the
The
slightest.
the differences in hair between the two people is truly amazing. It's just-
um, but yeah. So I mean, other than that, like in terms of our bullpen, uh, I'm good with what we got going, especially since Luke Jackson is gone. If Luke were available, uh, who do you think you would pick to like he would take his spot first of those guys?
um, Luke Jackson, who would replace him?
Yeah, who would no like who would Luke
who
replace
would
of this like
Oh,
the eight
oh,
guys
I
that
was
are up here?
confused. Newcomb. I think Newcomb's a failed experiment. I think he's done. I think we're gonna see one outing from Sean Newcomb, and that might be it, to be honest. Or Thornburg, or Strider. I don't know, but my first thought is Newcomb.
Yeah. That
Mm.
Will, what's your thought?
I would honestly say, uh, like trying to think similar to Snicker and Anthopoulos, I think it would be Strider. And the only reason I think that is because I know he's a strong young pitcher, but they can take advantage of his service time, whereas in relation to Thornburg and Newcomb, in that they can just use Thornburg and Newcomb for however long, and then once they think Strider is completely ready, then they can just essentially cut one of those guys. So more or less bide time until like he's completely MLB ready, and he may have reached that point. I may just be underrating Strider, but it's like why leave him up when he's not necessarily at the point he needs to be and waste service time days? If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
When you
that's true.
just have two options who are not as good. But I mean, they can pitch. They can throw innings.
Yeah,
So.
that's a good thought. I don't really think of that other than just like him like getting a little more experience in AAA. And I don't think like I'm pretty sure ultimately we want him to be a starting pitcher type guy and not relieving. I could be wrong on that, but I depending on the pitcher, if it's a really good pitcher, which obviously, I mean, last year, like we talked about last episode, he moved all the way from low A to the MLB during the World Series within 1 year. So obviously his stuff is pretty hot. Uh,
Mm,
I guess we're just letting that ride, see what happens. Is the thought.
yeah,
Um,
letting it stride. You're letting it stride.
anyway, Thornburg is kind of like a Nate Jones type to me, where and hopefully won't end up like Nate Jones,
Yeah,
but just where he could either be, we could get a diamond in the rough, or he could just be the rough. I know you're shaking your head right now, Will. But he did really well in spring training. He didn't give up a run. He did pretty
There's
well.
a lot of players that do well in spring training.
Okay, okay, all right. We'll see. Newcomb, I think yeah. I mean, I still have faith, especially since he started to slow down his velocity. I think that's what started hurting him because he was like chucking 99, 100, but his location was off and was just walking everybody. And then he went down to his average fastball is about 94, 95 and started doing a lot better. And it was at the end of the season, and I guess they just didn't want to really like the decision basically between him or Smiley. I guess they just went with Smiley as like the innings eater type guy. But I don't know. Like we got him on like 900K this year or something like that. So very little risk associated with that. And at the very worst, I mean he's just gone. But best he becomes a like what he should have been. It's weird to think like he could still technically have like a position in our rotation at some point if he did really well because that's like he was a starting pitcher for us. And I still remember like he almost had a no hitter back
No
in
hitter.
2018. He was literally an out away, maybe a strike away too. But and then O'Day, like, well, yeah. So Newcomb, if he does well, we could also trade him. We would be part of a trade package. O'Day, it's kind of the same thing. Just like I don't know, could be decent. Without Jackson, our bullpen is definitely a little less strong. The back half of that could be a big wild card, but I don't know. There's not really of Sam and I were talking about this yesterday. Like the guys that could come in and replace them, like I don't think they have too much of an edge. Like it's just basically whoever Snit and the front office want in there right now, and I trust them because like you have people like Jacob Webb. Maybe you throw Tukey in the bullpen or something like that.
Like Dylan Lee,
Dylan Lee.
potentially.
Yeah. That's somebody I'd like to have back soon because lost or would have another lefty in there. But yeah. Any other thoughts about this, or do you want to move into lineup?
I'm down to line up. I mean, I think the bullpen's pretty like. I mean, you said it best. It's really strong in the front end, but I think we're gonna see a lot of, AAA designations and call ups. At least, like I think we're gonna see a lot of that. At least until Luke Jackson comes back, and Kirby Yates will. I think what's Yates' timeline? He's coming back in like June, right? August. Oof,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So.
Yeah, so he's kind of a non-factor at this point, but yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Spencer Strider play a little more. I'm still kind of high on Dylan Lee, but I think they have him more as a starting pitcher in AAA for at least a year or two before he kind of emerges. Could be a good trade piece, but yeah, I mean, regardless, a very top-heavy bullpen, which I'm happy with.
So Will, you want to start us up with what you think your opening day lineup's gonna be?
Yeah, no, I did Ozzy at the one, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Marcelo Zuna, Eddie Rosario, Darnell, Duval, Dickerson, and then Swanson.
Gotcha.
And solid.
Sam, what's yours?
Yeah, I can go ahead. Mine's pretty similar, but just kind of like few trades from like the 8 and 9 and the 6 and 7. So
Mm,
yeah, I've Ozzy starting off at 1, but I could see him kind of going a lot of different places there. But yeah, I've Ozzy at 1, Matt Olson at 2, kind of filling in the Freddie spot. Austin Riley at 3, Ozuna at 4. Please God, I hope that works out. Eddie Rosario at 5, Duval at 6, Darno 7, Dansby at 8, and then Alex Dickerson at 9. So that's kind of where what I think is gonna
pretty similar.
pan
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
mine's fairly similar, except for I had Rosario first, then Albies, Olson, Riley, Ozuna, Duval, Darno, Dickerson, Swanson.
Mhm.
Um, so the projected lineup that I was noticing, hold on, I can't type. From RotoChamp is Rosario, Albies, Olson, Riley, Ozuna, Dickerson, Duval, Swanson, and Darnell. I don't
Mhm.
understand Dickerson at 6. What did y'all have him at?
9.
I
I
had
think Will
him
up.
at
Yeah.
8.
Okay. Yeah, I had him at 8 too. I I think just him having a left-handed bat and more power gives him an edge over Dansby, um,
Mhm.
who really sucked it up in spring training. Uh,
Mhm.
he did get a home run, and well, Dickerson also kind of sucked in spring training though, so who knows?
Yeah.
Um, so did Rosario. I don't know. And then Darnell had a really good spring training. I think he ended with like a
Oh,
360 average.
he mashed. I'm pretty sure he had like a 1200 OPS, which is just
Goodness.
insane.
Yeah, a couple
Yeah, he
couple
was.
ding dongs too.
I s-
Um,
I saw he changed his batting stance actually.
really?
Like there was a notice. Yeah, it was like noticeable positional change. So
Hmm.
maybe he's hitting for more power. I mean, Darno is like. I think he has potential to bounce back pretty hard this season, and I
Yeah.
think he will.
I mean, he did
Hmm.
really well in the World Series.
Yeah, he's incredible.
But yeah, I guess everybody's kind of noticed that his bat speed has slowed down like significantly. So I
Hmm.
guess maybe his changes are trying to um, readjust for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a couple options that we could do uh, in terms of shifting people around and whatever. I personally, I don't really like having Ozzy second. But I feel like this is what we're gonna start with at the beginning of the year. Um, I think everybody playing at their peak form. Um, well, let's do this. Let's do this like 2 weeks in, factoring in Acuna, and then having everybody else in. So that takes out Dickerson. Um,
Hmm.
so you would have Acuna lead off, and then I did like what we had in 2020 and did most of 2021 with Austin Riley being third,
Hmm.
but having Acuna, Olson, um, and then either Riley or Azuna, depending on who's doing better, and then the
Hmm.
other one, uh, then Rosario, Duval, Darno, Swanson. That's a everybody. Well, obviously not everyone's gonna
Wait,
be
so what would your top 4 be?
top four is Acuna, Olson, at this point Riley, and then Azuna.
Would you put Ozzy at 5 before Rosario? Or
Um, it, oh,
Honestly, I think what would also be interesting is I know he's a better hitter from the right side. But
Mm,
I know currently he's a switch hitter. If you go Acuna, Ozzy, Riley, Matt Olson, because Matt Olson hits nukes. Like
mhm.
he's gonna touch all parts of the stadium,
Mm,
and so and
He's
plus
gonna
you get
feel
that.
up the stadium.
No,
mm,
yeah, and then you get that alternating in the lineup where it goes right-handed Acuna, switch Ozzy,
Mm,
right-handed Riley, left-handed Olson.
yeah,
So it's like
mm,
smart.
tough in terms of like bringing in a
Heavy
left-handed
reliever.
pitcher, like bringing in a right. Yeah, so
mm.
Yeah, I mean this. You have everybody playing at least decent. This is obviously a very scary lineup to have to navigate through, especially not having the pitcher hitting anymore. Uh,
Mm.
so there's not really too many wrong answers. It's just seeing these guys like we, which is just baseball, I know, but like we can see how cold some of these guys can get. Uh, so it could leave us with a pretty empty lineup at some points and be fairly frustrating. But um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a whole ton of wrong answers. But one option that could be a possibility of like somebody from outside of this lineup coming in on opening day would be Heredia in for Dickerson, um,
Mm.
and which would put Ozuna at the DH. Um, but more than likely Dickerson will be there. I'm thinking, especially against, since it's the Reds, um, probably want a little bit more power and hitting as opposed to fielding, because we probably won't be doing very much fielding, I would guess.
Yep. I think the first series is going to look very good for us. But then again, we also started last season off 0-4. But
Yeah. Uh, yeah, we started like 1-6 or something like that.
yeah, it was terrible. It
After.
was so bad. It
Um,
was so bad.
we are just. I don't understand. We're not very good on opening day, so
Mm-mm.
this series might go poorly just because of history. But like I think we got
Literally just the precedent. Yeah.
yeah we got swept in 2019 as well, and then
Mm.
2018 didn't go very well either. Um, but so in terms of the rotation, um, what it's looking like as of now, in order, or I think this is in order, is Fried, Morton, Anderson, obviously up at the top three, and then after that, it's probably Yanoa, then Davidson, and then Wright. Um, so it's been pretty publicized that we're starting with a six-man rotation, um, which I'm fine with. Kind of figure out in the beginning who our main guys are going to be. Um, I hope it's a hard decision. I do not want it to be an easy decision,
Mm.
because obviously each of these guys has some really great stuff, but can also be absolute doo doo.
Mm.
I think even though he's the main one that left like a bad taste in my mouth, uh, is Tucker Davidson, but I honestly think he probably has the most. He's the most likely of those guys to fit into the rotation consistently. Um, just looking at how efficient it usually is. He did not do well in the World Series, but I mean, that's a pretty big moment to get put in, especially not
Mm.
after being in the roster at all. Um, so I didn't really blame him too hard, but you know, that's a up in the air thing. He was, our best pitcher for the first half of last year and was gross, but he came back. He had some unfortunate games that he played really well and then took the loss for, and I might have gotten to his head a little bit, and then actually started to suck. The only times he came into the playoffs, he got at least one run scored on him and let up like 3 home runs or something in very few appearances. Um, he's kind of turned into a two-pitch pitcher because I mean it's basically just his slider and fastball, and people have been just destroying his slider recently. Um, so who knows with him? He definitely needs to develop another pitch better. Um, but yeah, what are y'all's thoughts on the current rotation?
I mean, obviously very excited to have like a Freed Morton Anderson 1 2 3. Like, you know, that's great. Um, but I mean, I just kind of see issues with the back end, to be honest. In my heart of hearts, I want Huascar Ynoa to be like absolutely lights out. And to be honest, like before he fucking punched the bench last year, he was, and that's not a metaphor. He literally punched a bench and was out for months. It sounds stupid to say out loud, but before he punched the bench last year, he was lights out. Like he was arguably the best pitcher in our rotation to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we saw some lapses towards the end of the season. When he came back, he wasn't that great. In the postseason, he sucked. He was like an absolute liability, especially in that Brewers series. I remember he just gave up like an awful 2-run home run in the inning he pitched. But we know he has it. Like we know what he can do, and that is exciting. You know, like Huascar is a good pitcher, and hopefully he finds it. Hopefully he meditates a little and just brings it all back. But yeah, moving on. I really like Tucker Davidson, to be honest. I think that he's just like a ticking time bomb in terms of potential. Like he's shown flashes. He's been shitty, but he's been good at times. Uh, and I think he's a young guy, and he's like overly zealous too, which I think is exciting. But I think that kind of gets the best of him. He seems kind of like the guy. He seems like a kind of pitcher that would let a bat in and get to him. So if he can, get a little more mental fortitude, I think he'd be really solid, and I think he could stick around the rotation for a while to come. And then I had Kyle Wright as kind of the last man out. He's kind of like Newcomb to me, where I just like I don't know, I love the idea of him. We all love the idea of Kyle Wright, that he would be like this Vandy kid coming to the Braves. He's a cool mustache. But I just, but like I
Nothing
don't
like
think
Brock Holt,
he.
though.
Not that, not
No.
of course not. No, grit meter is down a few notches on Kyle Wright, but well, I don't know. Maybe we'll prove me wrong. And obviously that's like what we hope for, but it'll be interesting to watch this kind of 6-man rotation pan out and see what happens, at least until Soroka comes back.
Yeah. And then there's also, I mean, some people were kind of surprised Kyle Muller is not in the mix of these guys, but
Yeah.
honestly, they are all right now at pretty similar wavelengths. So again, I don't really think there's a bad answer, and we're just trying to figure this out. Plus,
Yeah.
Muller will definitely be the main starter developing at AAA right now.
Agreed.
So,
He's going to be the next big thing. I think 2 to 3 years, Kyle Muller is going to be a household name.
I mean,
Like
he was
he has got a
gross
lot of.
for a couple
Yeah.
games, and just kind of slowed down.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I mean, he's also massive. He's like 270.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's
6'7".
He's like 6'7". Yeah, he's a bulldozer.
But yeah, Will, what are your thoughts on the rotation right now? I know you don't know the younger guys quite as much, but
No, I know them. I'm not as acquainted, but I will say, like, I do think, a Wright in particular. I think they're pretty talented. So I think it's difficult for them not to succeed at some point. And when I say not succeed, I'm not saying like Jacob DeGrom or Max Fried
yeah,
or something. I mean, that's like a special kind of succeeding. It's just like I think there's definitely a role for them in the major leagues. I just don't think they found it yet. So I'm excited to see where those two in particular, like how they have improved and how they've changed. The other thing, like I think should be brought up is I like Charlie Morton, but it's sort of an elephant in the room. I'm I will admit didn't watch spring training all that closely this year, but I mean he's 38 years old and just broke a leg.
yeah.
I mean that's like
Mm.
pretty tough to come back from. So that's like that's a big concern of mine. He may totally prove me wrong. It's one of those things that he could be answered within like the first month of the season. But I mean, that's just something to watch for because that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, he had an up and down season kind of last year. I mean, the second half he was pretty lights out, but yeah, I mean, I'm not putting a whole ton on him, but the good thing is like I think since we have like you can also throw Tukey into the mix. I don't have very much faith in Tukey at this point. Maybe he can be if he just focuses on like two pitches, maybe he can be a good reliever. But I don't know. I feel like he had like two good games, really good games last year, but I think it was really just because he worked in a curveball, which he had like never done before, and he threw it decent enough, and that just wasn't in his normal repertoire, so I don't think people were prepared for it. And he kind of cheesed some games, but yeah. But like back to the Morton point, I think he should at least be solid in term the
No,
whole
I
year.
agree. But I mean, it's just
Mhm.
like that's something that has to be answered. I
Yeah,
mean, I still expect him to be a good pitcher, but I mean, something like that, I could totally see someone like that just not being the same.
yeah. His spring training, I think he only played one game, but he went 4.2 innings, uh, hit one batter, walked one, and then struck out five with a .21 WHIP. So pretty good. Even though
That's
that's just one,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good, really good for one start. And then also talking about a guy that, um, yeah, Kyle Muller. I think the reason he got sent down, his spring wasn't quite as good. He did have 7 strikeouts, which is I think leads. Kyle Wright had the most strikeouts. Um,
Oh,
he
good.
had 8 in 7 innings. Um,
Wow.
but Kyle Muller gave up 10 hits, 6 runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 2.05 WHIP. But yeah, and then another guy to think of, which I've just kind of just absolutely forgotten about, is Mike Soroka. Um,
Mm,
what are y'all's thoughts on?
oof.
He's slated to return like August-ish something.
I feel like it was earlier than that. I mean, I
I
may have
can look
just
it up.
convinced myself it was earlier than that.
Just what are your thoughts, and I'll let you know when his return is.
Yeah, I like. Obviously, that's just such a sweet sound to like a Braves fan. Like the idea of Soroka coming back, he missed all of last year, uh, and he was our ace. Like he was the guy, and he was pretty fucking lights out when he was playing. And my like big fears, this is like I don't want to say like a Bo Jackson type of situation, but like my big fear is that he tore his Achilles and he's just never going to be the same because that kid has so much potential. He's unreal. Uh, he's also just a really good face of the franchise. Like everyone loves Mike Soroka.
Yeah.
So obviously very exciting, but I don't want to rely on it too much. And I don't know. I feel like at this point, I'm taking everything at face value. We have our rotation at the moment. We're going to work with it. Hopefully, some starters emerge in the interim, and yeah, like pretty exciting stuff if he does come back soon.
Will I know we talked about pretty difficult to come back from tearing your Achilles twice, but
No, yeah, I want to like. I feel like I'm being super negative because I'm following up Morton with my opinion on Soroka. I
Mm.
really don't mean it in that way. Um, I really, I really want to see Soroka succeed. I think any fan of baseball wants to see Soroka succeed, but I mean, it's concerning to tear your Achilles twice. Not only that, but it's in like your planting foot as a pitcher, which
yeah,
is basically like where your speed comes from. So if he's sitting 96, 97 before, and he does that twice to a leg that frankly, you do that twice to a leg. No leg is the same after that.
Yeah.
And so like maybe he's sitting at 94, 93 now. And that's still fast, but I mean a difference of like 2 or 3 miles for a major league hitter is noticeable. Like they will pick up on that. So I like having said all that, I really want to see him succeed. I think he's very talented. I think what's happened is truly awful. Um, I have my doubts. I do think there's a role for him as a reliever. Um, I just think it's really unfortunate, and I don't. It's just tough to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the update on the timetable, Griffin?
It's late June, early to July. Um,
And he tore his Achilles the second time just walking in the clubhouse, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
that's
Just
June
heard
concerning.
a
of
pop.
last year.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
there was one report that said that doctors were kind of surprised that the Braves are letting him like saying that he should be better sooner, but like they're just being extra cautious. And so it's good to hear that late June, early July is an extra cautious date. But
I'm
uh,
also concerned of like his mental, like his confidence,
yeah,
because I mean that must have been pretty fucking sad to just be walking and then all of a sudden, oh, you have another year and a half of rehab.
yeah.
Like,
And seeing all
Jesus.
your good friends like go and win a World Series too, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe that gives him a little energy. I don't know. But I'm looking at his average pitch speed. He's not a big velocity guy, so that
Mm-hmm.
Good.
is encouraging. Like his main pitch, which he throws 31% of the time, is his sinker, um, and it goes about 91.4. And then other than that, he has a very good mix of pitches. Throws a slider 28.6% of the time, four seamer 28%, and changeup 12%. Um, his four seam fastball is 93. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's good that he's not a big speed velocity pitcher, and hopefully he can. Yeah, I'm not expecting much, but maybe he could
Mm-hmm.
be a very solid 5-hole in the rotation.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
But since we're at like 47 minutes now, and we still have some more predictions to go, let's just move. We'll move fairly quickly through. We're gonna do our Braves MVP, Cy Young, breakout player, and disappointment player.
Mm-hmm.
And just going down the list for that, or I guess my MVP is Acuna. Is y'all's different?
Mine's different.
Uh,
Mine's Acuna.
Will, what's yours?
I mean, he's the best player on our team. So
No, he's definitely the best player on the team. I honestly just wanted to go outside the box a little bit because
Mm,
it's Acuna, and I was like, I think Matt Olson's gonna have a great year,
Mhm.
so he was
yeah,
my MVP selected.
I would not mind if Olson won the MVP over Acuna. Wouldn't
Agreed. Agreed.
I'll take it. But yeah, I think Acuna's
Mhm.
coming back with an absolute vengeance this year. Like being a top 10
Yeah.
player and seeing your entire team go and win the World Series, I feel like got to make you very happy, but also a little angry. But
He wants in on the fun. Yeah,
yeah.
I totally agree.
Also
I
his
think he's good. I mean, just go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say like his WAR is like 0.2 points shy of Freddie Freeman's WAR from all of last year. Like his
Yeah.
if in half a season. So it's
I mean,
just
he carried the Braves in the
oh
first
yeah,
half.
oh
Like
yeah,
he if there's no Acuna in the first half of the 2021 Braves season, we don't see the playoffs
mm-mm,
at all.
no,
Like there is just no way. He put the team on his back.
yeah.
Mm.
Cy Young, I went with another boring answer and just did Freed. I feel like he's gonna get even
Yeah,
better.
same. I
Mm-hmm.
agree.
I
I
think.
think Morton's probably the best pitcher at the moment, but
Mhm.
Fried is. I think he's going to be pretty lights out, and he's the ace, so easy pick.
Yeah. I hopefully he just kind of keeps carrying the second half of the season, which he had like a 1-6 after the All Star break
Mm,
and 2 complete game shutouts. First half was kind of a roller coaster for him. I'm expecting a little bit of
mm,
that, but hopefully as each year comes, those seasons of going up and down are a little bit shorter. Um, for my breakout player, I have Kyle Wright. Um, and I'm definitely
mm,
basing a lot of this off of how he did in Game 4, I think it was, of the World Series. Um, should not have been that game, but just was lights out. I mean, he gave up a solo shot, but other than that, I think he went 3 or 4 innings of very clean work. And also just
yeah.
hearing them talk about that he kind of switched up his mechanics to back to what he was doing at Vanderbilt instead of like what he had been trying to learn with the Braves because the pitching coaches at Gwinnett were just like, this isn't working. Just try and do what you were doing at Vanderbilt again, and then it obviously really worked. So I don't know.
Mm.
I'm sipping the Kool Aid on that one, but we'll see.
That's cool. I mean, I think what you mentioned about how he's getting back to what he did at Vanderbilt's pretty important. Like Kyle Wright, just a guy who was getting shelled a lot, and to see him switch it up and do well in spring training and during that like World Series was pretty solid. I so for my breakout, I also had a pitcher. I picked Tucker Davidson, which like I think I want him to be the breakout player. Do I think he will be? Probably not, but like I just love the idea of like Tuck, like he's just a cool he's a cool guy. And like I think he has a lot of swagger and I think he's going to be a really really good pitcher eventually. Uh like I said earlier, I just think we've seen so many flashes of this guy and if he has time to develop and actually like cements himself in the rotation, I think we could see some really really great stuff. So that's where I'm at.
For my breakout, I actually went with Ian Anderson, and I know he's already pretty well established, but when I say Ian
Mm,
Anderson, like I think he's ready to become an all-star. I'll be honest.
mm,
I've really liked him for the longest time. And so
mm,
like I think he's gonna take on, at least I hope, take on a larger role on the national stage, like really take that next step. And um, yeah, honestly, like I still believe in Morton as a pitcher, even with what I said earlier. But honestly, like I'd like to see Anderson just like sort of pass Morton on the depth chart. So he was my choice for that.
Yeah.
Whew.
We're gonna Will come back to you. Who do you have as your disappointment for the year?
My disappointment's Matzik, Tyler Nutsack.
ooh.
Um, Main reason there is like I think Tyler Matzek's a great reliever. I think he's pretty strong, but I do think ever since the World Series, he's gotten a lot of attention. Like I've read articles before where it goes like Hader Hendricks Matzik, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
a bit much to me.
Goodness, yeah.
And so like that's a bit aggressive. And so I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people, and that's not saying anything about Matzik. I just think people have a an inflated view of him. I
Mm,
think he's a fine reliever. Do I think he's Hater or Hendricks? No, no. So, no.
hmm.
He's pretty funny though. He's pretty funny.
Yeah. I won't
That's
dispute
yeah.
that. I like I think he's definitely got very overhyped after the tremendous postseason. I think a similar thing's gonna happen with AJ Minter. I still think that they're gonna be good, and they're a lot better than they were last year or 2 years ago. But yeah, I think they are the number one. The best arms in our bullpen will definitely be McHugh and hopefully Jansen. And honestly, I think Will Smith's kind of rolling right now. So, which is
Yeah.
not surprising after the postseason he had, but I think he'll be the third best reliever on our team. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I could see that happening.
Agreed.
Sam, what's
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah. I'll go ahead with mine. Riding the inertia of last season, I have my disappointment as Marcelo Zuna. Um, he started off last season just so poorly, and I think he was kind of a disappointment to us all when that started. Obviously, we know the potential. I mean, he was like, I'm pretty sure seventh in MVP, but MVP voting from the 2020 season. We're paying him $15 million a year. I just don't think that's going to translate, to be honest. He has just wild defensive inefficiencies that I think are really like not like underplayed, but like I honestly think that's the best way of putting it. Like I think we really underplay like how shitty Marcelo Zuna is in left field, and that's the spot he's gonna have to fill until Acuna comes back. And then just on like I hate the phrase like eye test, but just on the eye test alone, his swing is just so like visceral and vicious, and like I just don't see how he's going to live up to the potential of being a 4 or 5 spot hitter. Hopefully, he proves us wrong in a lot more ways than one. I want to believe in Marcelo Zuna. I want to think like he's become a better person and that he'll be, go back to his 2020 levels. But right now, I think there's just too much attention on him. I think that I don't know if he's ready for the moment. And they're just like I think there are going to be a lot of factors that kind of hinder him. I mean, he's going to get booed at every stadium he plays at, so that's kind of my pick right now. But once again, hopefully proves us all wrong.
Yeah, I could definitely see the mental
Mm.
thing for him.
Mm.
But I don't know. I think I would hope he what used to be the guy that was the cushion for Freddie Freeman. So he had a lot
Mm.
of responsibility there, and he did really well with it. Now coming back a little bit more sensitive, um, he's got a lot more cushion for himself, and he doesn't have as much responsibility, I think, um, since Austin Riley's hitting the ball like crazy, and you got Matt Olson now, and
Mm.
Eddie Rosario and Duvall around him. There's a lot less pressure, I would think, on him for that. So I could see it going the other way, but yeah, that's definitely a wild card. I mean, he hadn't played for a whole year, so we'll see what happens. For my disappointment, I had Ian Anderson, which is contrary to Will's breakout.
Nice.
I love Ian Anderson, but and obviously his stats are very good. But I mean he almost had like um, 9 Ks per 9 last year, and had a pretty low ERA. But his walks, he had 66 walks last year, which led the team in the rotation. Which, granted, not too many other people were issuing too many walks, but
On how many innings pitched was that?
it was 155, so it's not bad.
Okay.
But just for
Yeah.
comparison, like Charlie Morton, who also typically hits like one batter per performance, only walked
Mm.
52 in
Mm.
156, and then Max Fried had
Okay.
180 innings and 52 walked as well. Um, then also his chase rate is 33, with that slightly higher walk percentage. Um, and just his first inning, um, he has like a 7 ERA, and then his second inning is like 4 or something. And then once he gets past those, it's like 1. So he's an interesting player. He's pretty calm, but I don't understand like how he lets the first inning just eat him up so much. He also, I mean, he's a 3-pitch pitcher. He's been working in his curveball more. Um, but and he threw a sinker 6 times last year. Uh, but yeah, I mean it's mainly 4-seam changeup curveball, and
Mm.
he tends to rely whenever he's not getting stuff going. he heavily relies on his changeup, which is disgusting. But when stuff misses the zone for him, it just seems to continually miss. And he can really rack up runs that way. And he really only seemed to do, like, he would do very well, and then he started to suck, and then it just seemed like all of a sudden he was on the 10-day IL, and then he would come back several games later and start to do better again. So even if he is doing good, I think it's kind of like last year where he's playing most of the season, but he's not really playing a full season. But I don't know. Obviously, I don't want him to go down, but I feel like he's been set for a regression for a little bit. And last year, he had a projected ERA of like 4 or 5. That obviously didn't happen, but I feel like this year might be the year that it kind of gets closer to that. So at this point, we're way more stretched for time than I thought we would be. So this is gonna be, maybe we can talk a little bit about it maybe next time, but we're gonna do some rapid fire predictions for the MLB in general, for standings, postseason, and then award winners. So
You
in
just
terms of,
quickly go through the standings. That's
yeah,
all you want to do. All right.
yeah, people are just gonna have to keep up, I guess.
All right.
But I want to talk about it.
We can go a
Um,
little over too. I feel like it's, start of the season.
yeah. So in the NL East, I am not picking anyone other than the Braves at first. It's just not a possibility. Second, I actually have the Phillies. I think that I'll just run through it, then y'all can run through it, then we can talk, yell at each other. NL East, I have Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins, Nationals. NL Central, I have Brewers, Cardinals, Cubs, Reds, Pirates. NL West, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Rockies, D-backs. AL East, Rays, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Yankees, Orioles. AL Central, White Sox, Twins, Tigers, Guardians, Royals. AL West, Astros, Mariners, Angels, Rangers, Athletics. Sam?
Cool. Yeah, I'll get through mine pretty quick. NL East, obviously Braves on top, Mets, Phillies, Marlins, Nationals. NL Central, Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, Cubs, Pirates. NL West, Dodgers, Giants, Padres, Rockies, D-backs. AL East, Blue Jays, who I think are going to be the best team in baseball this year. Rays, Red Sox, Yankees, Orioles. AL Central, which got a little more interesting with the Austin Meadows trade. I have White Sox, Twins, Tigers, Guardians, and Royals. And then AL West, I have Astros, Mariners, fingers crossed because I love the Mariners, Angels, Rangers, and Athletics.
So pretty similar.
So yeah, the NL East, I went Braves, Mets, Phillies, Marlins, Nationals. NL Central, I went Cardinals, Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Pirates. NL West, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Rockies, Diamondbacks. AL East, this one was a ballsy pick, but I feel like every single year they somehow just pull out another AL East title. Red Sox, Rays, Blue Jays, Yankees, Orioles. AL Central, White Sox, Tigers, Twins, Guardians, Royals. AL West, Astros, Mariners, Angels, Rangers, Athletics.
Okay. So our NL East and our AL West were the most similar. I think all of our AL West was the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
And then the NL Central, honestly, I want to go into the NL East real quick, just about the difference in the Phillies and the Mets. Sam, did you have the Phillies before the Mets too?
I had the Mets before the Phillies.
Okay, so I'm the only one.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that the Mets have the better team all the way through. But right now, I mean, just looking at how the Mets performed last year, especially in terms of their lineup, I think the Phillies have a much better lineup. Their like 7 to 9 hitters are kind of weak. But having Bryce Harper, uh, Castellanos, Schwarber, Hoskins, and JT Realmuto as your first five is pretty nice. And I honestly, I like their rotation more than the Mets. I know that the Mets rotation is pretty gross, but I've kind of already, as I was already kind of thinking, like, I knew DeGrom was going to get injured at some point and be out for a while, and he's not even coming back until May, like late May or something at this point. So they're going 2 months without him. And then Scherzer is dealing with some hamstring stuff right now, and he's 41. And a lot of their team, a lot of their success, I feel like, is based on those guys and how they do, and if they're just not there. I know Chris Bassett should be at least solid. Cookie had a pretty bad last year, so I don't really trust him.
Yeah, he was ass.
And then Taijuan Walker had a great first half and an absolutely terrible second half. So, and then after those guys, like that's great if everybody's healthy and doing well. After that, they have like nobody. I guess Nate Pearson, maybe, or that might be a Blue Jays guy. I get somebody mixed up.
He's a Blue Jays guy.
They have like Miguel or
Tyler
McGill.
Tyler McGill.
Tyler McGill. Tyler McGill. Yeah.
That guy kind of sucks though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also just one of the most from last year, one of the more dysfunctional clubhouses, and I feel like they have Buck Showalter now, but I feel like they're just gonna shit on their hands again. And way underperform. And then I think the Phillies rotation I think is more solid and less injury prone. Zach Wheeler's great. Aaron Nola's great. Eflin did a lot better than people gave him credit for. They still have Kyle Gibson, and he's really that's a perfect 3 or 4 guy. And then Ranger Suarez way outperformed his. I think he's gonna get a big setback this year and not be as good. Because I really don't think his stuff is all that great, but he obviously did really well last year. Their bullpen is butthole, just awful. They're going to be terrible again, and that's
death taxes and shitty Phillies bullpen.
Yeah, that's the main separation between our teams, because their rotation and their lineup can definitely go hand in hand with us at points, but their bullpen is just butthole.
It's been the worst in baseball for like 4 years now.
Yeah,
you would
other
think
than the
they
Orioles
would address the problem. I mean, yeah. The
Um,
thing is with the Orioles, I never think they're actually that bad. I think they're just in the toughest division ever. It's just really
They're
tough.
that bad. They're. I mean,
I
just
don't
gave
know.
away
I
their,
mean,
their
you play the Rays, Red Sox,
Yankees,
Yankees,
Blue
and
Jays.
Blue Jays like all the time. That's a bit tough.
Yeah,
That's a tad bit tough.
Still, like the Orioles lineup isn't that bad right now. Like it's obviously not any of those other teams, but they have like multiple guys that are slated for above 25 home runs. So I don't know.
did they call up the?
Yeah.
Adley.
Adley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Adley Rutschman. I still don't know how to
It's
pronounce his
Rush
last
something.
name. I should know.
Rushman.
Yeah.
Rushmore.
Rushmore, yeah.
Mm.
But they got like Trey Mancini, and then Ryan Mountcastle is like
Cedric
projected.
Mullins.
Cedric Mullins. They're both like projected to get over 30 home runs this year, and Ryan Mountcastle got a lot of AL Rookie of the Year votes last year. So
Got a lot of Rookie of the Votes votes.
Rookie of the Vote years.
Rookie of the Votes years.
Yeah, NL Central. The teams below the Brewers and the Cardinals just don't really matter. The Cubs could have a weird season and maybe squeak into the now 3rd wild card spot. I could see it because they've just signed a bunch of like, let's see what they do guys. So, but Will, why did you have the Cardinals ahead of the Brewers?
Because it's
the blood magic.
The devil
They're
magic.
due. They're due.
The St.
It's
Louis
also just,
Cardinals
like,
devil magic.
they I think their lineup is better than what people give them credit for because Arenado's there, which is he's the best third baseman in baseball. He's the guy. They're also just by far and away the best defensive team in baseball, in my opinion. Or they had like 5 Gold Glovers,
They're
which
like
is nuts.
the
But then
anti-Phillies.
no, yeah. But then on top of that, they have Arenado, of course. Then they have Goldschmidt. Then they have Carlson and the other motherfucker, O'Neill. So that's 4 phenomenal hitters.
Yeah.
And then they're adding Nolan Gorman, who reminds me a lot of Austin Riley. He's not going to be as good as Austin Riley, but that's like the closest comparison I have. And then like Yachty is just like an ageless wonder. And then I don't know. I just believe in them, which is tough because I hate them.
Yeah, I was about to say,
they-
would you?
they
I
just-
can't believe you just said that. I believe. Will say I believe in the Cardinals. Say it.
I believe in them. I believe in them to do well. I mean, it's just like it's what they do. So I think, like, if I'm picking between the Brewers, who have an anemic offense but great pitching all around, or the Cardinals, who don't really have like a major flaw, they're just well-rounded all the way around. I'm gonna take the Cardinals. So yeah.
They did get Steven Matz, and he's been doing fairly well in spring training. Jack Flaherty.
Of course he is. Of course.
Jack Flaherty should have a good comeback year.
I'm sure he will.
Who are their other pitchers?
Adam Wainwright.
Adam Wainwright.
They got the-
That's
Adam
another
Wainwright.
ageless-
Yeah, they got the
Ageless
Wainwright,
wonder.
Molina, Albert Pujols trio back in there. Somehow
then in the
somehow
bullpen-
back together. Yeah.
In the bullpen, they have Reyes, who's a bit all over the place, frankly, and then
I
they
think-
have Gallegos, who's pretty solid.
And then
There's
Jordan
actually-
Hicks is coming back.
I like guys.
I think Reyes might be injured right now. I think he's on like 60-day. I'd have to check, but I
Mm,
feel like I read that. But yeah, they get Jordan Hicks back, who's a monster.
They have, I don't know, their rotation outside of I guess Dakota Hudson's like a fine 5, but I don't know. Wainwright, Matz, Michaelis. I don't really like Michaelis that much. Flaherty, who is, I think, injured right now. They have their projected fifth starter is Drew Verhagen. Drew Verhagen.
That's a funny name. That's a funny name.
That's a funny name. Change that name.
Funny name.
But the Brewers lineup, I think, honestly got better from last year. It's really not that bad. It's not terrible. You got Colton Wong, Lorenzo Cain. This is a projected lineup. Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, Andrew McCutchen now, Willie Adames, Rowdy Tellez, Hunter Renfroe again, Omar Narvaez, Jace Peterson.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I still have faith in the Brewers, and they have their 3-headed monster, which is just disgusting, and they're kind of like a.
That's another thing I forgot. I was gonna say I do think there's gonna be some aggression in that like pitching staff because I don't see that season. But I would say one of Freddie or Woody.
Yeah,
one of those two.
Yes. Yeah, I think.
Because last season was like